June 18, 2012. College Street, Toronto. Italy versus Ireland. The Euro Cup match that turned Little Italy into a street-long celebration. In the middle of the noise, a man in an orange vest pushed through the crowd, carrying a small black bag. He stopped at a table where João Johnny Raposo sat with a friend. 5 shots. 4 to the head, 1 to the neck. Raposo fell forward. His friend slumped, wounded but alive. Witnesses said the shooter didn't run. He walked away, appearing to limp slightly, mask still on, vanishing into a crowd waving Italian flags. Police later identified him as Dean Michael Wiwchar. No argument, no warning, no mercy. According to investigators, this wasn't passion or revenge. It was a contract carried out with precision. Violence done on time, on budget, on command. Miss the button? Go ahead. Subscribe now so you don't forget later. Police sealed College Street within minutes. Tourists filmed the chaos. Unaware they were capturing the calmest man in the scene, the shooter who had already disappeared. Inside the cafe, the espresso machine still hissed. Raposo's body sat slumped forward, his coffee untouched. Detectives knew it wasn't random. 5 shots to the head meant precision, not panic. But what kind of killer stops to aim 5 times and then walks away? The answer didn't come from the witnesses. It came from a laptop found hundreds of kilometers away. During a raid on a Toronto condo tied to Nick Nero, investigators uncovered what looked like clutter, fake IDs, half-burned papers, and 1 yellow sticky note taped to a desk. Written on it was a string of words and numbers, a password. That note opened a trove of encrypted messages, contracts, coordinates, code names, all sent through a program known as Pretty Good Privacy, PGP. It was designed to be unbreakable. But how unbreakable can a secret be when the key is left on a desk? What investigators read next didn't just expose a hitman. It mapped a network that stretched across the country, from the condos of Vancouver to the cafes of Toronto. Every message, every payment, every address pointed to the same name, Dean Michael Wiwchar, the man who turned violence into logistics, the one the Wolfpack trusted to finish what others couldn't even start. But how does a small-town kid become the man behind one of Canada's most methodical murders? And what happens when the weapon they built decides he's no longer taking orders? Born in 1986 in Stouffville, Ontario, a quiet community that didn't breed killers. Middle-class home, working parents. Nothing unusual. He wasn't raised in violence. He learned it. Teachers later described him as polite, withdrawn, until he wasn't. One wrote in a report, "He doesn't see red, he becomes it." By 18, he'd stopped hiding it. A McDonald's robbery with a baseball bat. A home invasion that left a man seriously injured. Between 2004 and 2005, more than 60 criminal charges, robberies, assaults, threats, and weapons offenses. But the strangest part wasn't his record. It was how early everyone saw it coming, and how little anyone stopped it. His mother told the parole board she believed her son could change. The board disagreed, calling him an untreated violent offender, maximum security at a young age. Still, he was released. Twice. Inside prison, he became something else. Reports say he scalded a guard with boiling coffee, and in another incident, attacked a staff member with his walker after a car crash left him limping. Other inmates later said he appeared calm afterward, as if violence restored balance. He didn't crave attention, he craved control. By the time he walked out of prison in 2010, he wasn't a thief anymore. He was a weapon looking for a commander, and that commander would soon appear. A new kind of underworld was forming, one organized not by colors or patches, but by encrypted phones, coded messages, and shared profits. The Wolfpack Alliance. They didn't recruit Dean Wiwchar because he was loyal. They recruited him because he didn't need to be. But what happens when a man built to take orders starts deciding which ones matter? To understand what happened in Little Italy, you have to start months earlier. 3,000 kilometers away. January 17, 2012, Vancouver. The Sheraton Wall Center, marble floors, glass walls, and the calm of a weekday afternoon. According to police, Sandeep Dur, 36, of the Doc Dur crew, arrived at the hotel for a meeting in its restaurant. He was a seasoned gang figure who'd survived multiple assassination attempts, including the 2010 killing of his brother Gurmit Doc. Around 2:45 p.m., witnesses heard what sounded like a single pop. Police later said a man wearing a reflective construction vest and possibly a hard hat walked through the lobby and fired a single shot at close range. The bullet struck Dur in the head. There was no warning, no argument, just a body in a hotel full of guests. Witnesses described a moment of panic. People diving behind planters and tables. Some reports said the lobby was busy with media crews and athletes connected to events at the hotel that day. The shooter walked away calmly and was gone before first responders arrived. Police called it a targeted execution. The gun was never found, and investigators said the surveillance footage was too poor to identify the shooter. Evidence later suggested the killer flew in from Ontario days before and left within hours of the attack. Dean Michael Wiwchar's name appeared in the investigation as one of several suspects linked to a string of similar contract killings. But by then, he was already gone, and Vancouver wasn't done bleeding. November 26, 2012, Burnaby, British Columbia. Outside a hotel parking lot, Sukhveer Sukh Doc, leader of the rival faction, stepped out with his bodyguard, Thomas Mantell. A silver SUV, reported stolen days earlier, rolled up. Bursts of automatic fire followed. Controlled, measured. Doc and Mantell were both hit multiple times and died instantly. The SUV was later found burning in a Surrey lot. No DNA, no prints, no answers. Investigators noticed the pattern. Same calm, same efficiency, same disappearance. One officer called the unknown shooter a courier with a conscience turned off. Another described the hits as administration, not emotion. The Wolfpack Alliance was quietly expanding its control. Hells Angels muscle through Larry Amaro. Independent Soldiers logistics through Robbie Al-Khalil. Red Scorpions manpower through Jonathan Bacon's old network. Together they ran a cocaine pipeline from the Vancouver port to Toronto's clubs and Montreal's docks. Their enemies, the Doc Dur faction, were being erased, one by one. And the name investigators kept hearing was always the same, Dean Wiwchar. He moved like a contractor between cities. Aliases, prepaid phones, one bag, one gun, never reused. He studied angles, reflections, shadows. Not paranoia, procedure. Quick reminder, if you're still watching, you already know how fast loyalty turns into blood. By the time the Wolfpack turned east, Wiwchar's reputation had already crossed the Rockies ahead of him. To some, he was just a man for hire. To others, he was proof that in Canada's underworld, silence travels faster than bullets. And the next contract waiting for him would turn that silence into national headlines. By summer 2012, the Wolfpack controlled Canada's cocaine highway, a system running like a business. West Coast supply, East Coast demand, and encrypted phones linking both ends. But inside that alliance, something was breaking. João Johnny Raposo and Martino Caputo, once brothers in profit, now fought over trust, money, and a woman. Investigators later testified that the conflict may have begun with a 200-kilogram cocaine shipment. Raposo allegedly withheld part of the load, setting aside a portion for himself. Other reports suggested jealousy. Caputo had discovered they were involved with the same woman. Whatever the motive, the message went out quietly. $100,000 for the hit. The assignment landed in the same hands that had already proven untraceable. Dean Michael Wiwchar. For weeks, he moved through Toronto unnoticed, blending in, taking photos, studying routes. Morning to night, he tracked Raposo's pattern. Where he parked, when he smoked, where he sat for coffee. On June 18, 2012, he executed the plan in daylight. surrounded by hundreds of Euro Cup fans. One act of violence that would expose the entire Wolfpack machine. According to court evidence, Wiwchar later sent a brief text message, "Done." Media reports say Rabi Al-Khalil replied, calling him his best hitter and promising sniper school. But arrogance leaves evidence. When police raided Nick Nero's condo, they found what the Wolfpack thought impossible: access. On a desk lay a sticky note covered in random letters and numbers. Nero's PGP password. The search was led by a joint Toronto Police Homicide and RCMP organized crime agency team that had been tracking encrypted gang networks for months. The devices seized were mostly BlackBerry smartphones, running pretty good privacy, PGP through Hushmail servers. Technology the Wolfpack believed unbreakable. That one sticky note unlocked hundreds of messages, payment transfers, photos, coordinates, and texts mapping every stage of the Raposo job, from surveillance to celebration. The digital trail was relentless. Nero's condo, Al-Khalil's phone, Wiwchar's burner. Within days, investigators pieced together what had taken months to plan. The shooter, the paymaster, the intermediaries, all connected by a string of careless keystrokes. June 21, 2012, Toronto. Detectives closed in near Parliament and Gerrard Streets. Wiwchar was alone in his car, calm, almost bored. Inside, multiple fake IDs, cash bundles, and a cell phone still warm from use. But that was only the surface. A deeper search revealed what looked less like a killer's stash and more like an armory. In his Vancouver condo and Surrey safe house, police found 16 firearms, handguns, shotguns, even a compact Uzi submachine gun, latex masks, wigs, fake mustaches, mullet-proof vests, construction gear identical to what he'd worn at the Sicilian cafe. Even the receipts told a story: hotels, flights, prepaid rentals, evidence of a man who built his own witness protection plan before every job. Investigators called it chilling. Prosecutors called it organized. But inside the Wolfpack, panic set in. Every encrypted phone could now lead to prison. Every message could name the next man in line. And if a single sticky note could bring down their empire, who among them had written it? Wiwchar said nothing. He didn't confess. He didn't negotiate. For a man who turned killing into logistics, silence was just another part of the process. But the silence wouldn't last forever. The trial was coming, and the Wolfpack's once untouchable network was about to be mapped, line by line, in open court. June 21, 2012, Toronto. The man who once vanished into crowds was finally surrounded. Charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and weapons offenses, Dean Michael Wiwchar showed no emotion. Reporters shouted questions. He didn't answer. He just smiled once, a quiet, unnerving calm, at several detectives later described as cold control. The trial took years, 5 of them. May 11, 2017, Toronto Superior Court. A jury found Wiwchar, Rabi Al-Khalil, Marcino Caputo, and Nick Nero guilty of first-degree murder in the death of João Raposo. The verdict confirmed what investigators had pieced together from encrypted messages, flight logs, and hidden money trails. The Wolfpack's invisible empire wasn't just broken. It was bleeding from the inside. Sentence: life imprisonment, no parole for 25 years. When the judge read it, Wiwchar didn't flinch. He didn't even blink. To the court, he was a murderer. To the Wolfpack, he was a liability they couldn't erase. Not yet. 2018, federal prison. During yard hour, Wiwchar was attacked by multiple inmates. He was stabbed in the torso and neck, but survived. Sources inside corrections described it as targeted. Some said it was revenge linked to the Dr. A network. Others believed it was a Wolfpack cleanup, a move to silence the man who knew every encrypted secret. No charges were ever laid, and Wiwchar has never commented publicly about the attack. After that, he stopped communicating altogether. No letters, no appeals, no interviews, just silence. A man who once lived by order and control now existing in a cell built to take both away. Meanwhile, the Wolfpack continued to collapse. Larry Amaro, convicted of drug conspiracy charges in 2022, sentenced to 18 years. Caputo and Nero, serving life. Robbie Al-Khalil, escaped a Quebec detention center in 2022, disguised as a contractor. He hasn't been seen since. The empire that once ran Canada's criminal pipeline now exists in fragments, shattered by greed, betrayal, and a single sticky note. According to one former associate, Wiwchar once said, "Control is peace." But control was the one thing he never truly had. He wasn't a mastermind. He wasn't a monster. He was a man who believed discipline could replace morality, that order could excuse chaos. But even the most efficient machine breaks down eventually. And when it did, every man who touched it, every ally, every handler, every believer in its silence, paid the price. Today, Wiwchar sits in a maximum security cell, alive, quiet, and largely forgotten. But one question still lingers in the case files. Did he stop killing because he was caught, or because there was no one left to pay him? Time buries names, but some don't fade, they echo. Dean Michael Wiwchar, a man who turned violence into order, and order into silence. His story isn't about rage. It's about routine, about what happens when killing becomes another line item in someone else's business plan. A century ago, killers fought for power. Today, they fight for contracts, encryption keys, and wire transfers that never touch a name. The Wolfpack called it strategy. The courts called it organized crime. But in truth, it was neither. It was administration by fear. And if the price of control is silence, then Dean Wiwchar paid it in full. He sits now in a cell built to contain men like him. Men who mistook obedience for loyalty and calm for peace. But ask yourself, when violence becomes efficient, who really pulls the trigger? The man holding the gun, or the one who taught him not to shake? And if you made it this far, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit the bell. There are more cases like this coming. Cases where the truth is darker than any fiction. Because in Canada's underworld, death isn't justice. It's just another transaction. The facts are cold, but the rumors are colder.